There's going to be some people here, I assume there's some people here who just want to know if universal credit is going to affect them and how it's going to affect them. And there's other people here who have got responsibilities for advice and so on and so forth that want to know how it's, where do you get the information from? Because universal credit keeps changing. So it's very difficult to actually pin it down, but we can talk about how it is at the moment. So universal credit is this great idea for bringing 6 income-related benefits, 6 means-tested benefits under one single thing. We've got income support, we've got ESA, which is sickness benefits, we've got JSA, which is unemployment benefit, we've got housing benefit, child tax credit, and working tax credit.
Fine, you carry on.
So if anybody's receiving any of them, they will be put onto universal credit. Now, those that I've mentioned, they're known as the legacy benefits. And people, locally, universal credit comes in job centre by job centre. So Harlesden Job Centre came live for universal credit yesterday. And Wembley Job Centre comes live for universal credit on the 5th of December. So what that means is that new claimants will have to go onto universal credit. All new claimants will go onto universal credit if they've got an income-related benefit.
So what happens to old folk?
If you're on one of the legacy benefits, then they're starting to move people over from the legacy benefits in July of next year. And the rollout's planned to go very slowly. They're only planning to do 10,000 people in the first year to test the system, and then they're saying that will be completed in the year 2023. Everybody will have been moved over by then.
In Brent?
Nationally. Transitional arrangements. If you're already on a legacy benefit, there are arrangements whereby you won't lose any money while you're claiming for universal credit. But at the moment, people are not going to be moved over automatically. At the moment, the government is saying that everybody will have to put in a claim for universal credit. Now, I don't know if anybody knows if you're transferring from a legacy benefit, whether that's going to have the minimum 3-week delay the government has built into the system. But they're saying that nobody will lose out. The problem is if you have a change of circumstances. Now, if you have a change of circumstances, then your old claim finishes and you will be put onto universal credit. And I've put onto the tables a list, I think it's 5 pages long, of all the things that can trigger a change of circumstances. Everybody please ask questions, because this is so complicated, and especially with all of the acronyms, ESA, it's very, very difficult. The government has been very careful to surround everything with terminology that is not understandable. So if you don't already know what things are, then you don't know what I'm talking about. So I'd be very grateful if you could tell me, interrupt as often as you want to, please, and tell me if I'm not being clear. So they're saying if you're on a legacy benefit, you're okay, but the changes of circumstances, a change in employment status, change of family status, if somebody moves into your household or somebody moves out of your household, that's a change of circumstances. And there's if you have another child, if you move house outside the borough, if you move house within the borough, it's not a change of circumstances. But if you move house outside the borough, that will trigger a move to universal credit. And if you've had a change of circumstances, you lose the transitional protection. So if you've had a change of circumstances, and the full list is on the tables, if any of these things have happened to you, then you will have to make a claim for universal credit, and that's a minimum of 3 weeks delay getting any money at all, and usually quite a bit longer, especially if housing benefits involved. So I think at this point I'm going to ask if anybody's got any questions about that, because I know that's of great importance to people in the room.
Can you explain exactly what these transitional arrangements are?
I could explain exactly what the transitional arrangements were if anybody knew.
Oh.
All right. At the moment, what they're saying is that they will guarantee that nobody loses money while they're being transitioned from their existing benefit to universal credit. I'm assuming that means that the government will that there won't be a 3-week delay in money. I don't know. I really don't know. Quite a few of the existing benefits are going to be lower, especially for disabled people under universal credit. Because if you're in receipt of, here's another one, PIP. For those that don't know, PIP is what the new version of disabled living allowance. It's not means tested, but under the current system, if you're getting sickness benefit, ESA, then you get an extra benefit, you get a severe disability premium if you're getting PIP. That's not going to happen under universal credit. They're scrapping the severe disability premium. But if you're already getting it, that should be protected under the transitional arrangements, unless, of course, you unluckily trigger one of these many changes of circumstances, in which case you have a new claim and you don't get that transitional protection. Anything else?
That's if you're a single person, so if you got married or something.
If you got married, that's a change of circumstances.
I'm not saying.
If somebody moves out of the house, somebody moves into the house. Well, I don't know how long.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
What about someone who's on their benefits, goes into prison, comes out and has to start again?
Yeah.
Don't do that.
But have built, and then maybe their housing benefit got stopped while they were away.
Right.
So what you're saying is, under this, in the trying to get back, they could lose their home.
Yeah, I'll cover some of these sort of examples when I speak actually in a moment, but essentially that would be a new claim, because the person when they came out of prison would have to reclaim their job seekers or housing benefit, and reclaiming either of those once Brent's gone live is a new claim which has to be done for universal credit. There are a couple of exceptions. I don't want to complicate things too much at this stage, but generally speaking...
No, the person I was thinking about was within 6 months, it was a short period. But
if their housing benefit or their job seekers or whatever has stopped, there's a gap,
then it's a new
and then
claim.
they're going to reclaim as a new claim, and that would be a claim onto universal credit rather than onto the old benefit.
Okay, so I've got a list that's 6 pages long of what the problems are with universal credit. Now, the first thing I need to say is that universal credit does work for some people, and some people are better off on universal credit.
How do you know that?
Because every once in a while on the pages that I'm on for universal credit, somebody says, I've had no trouble at all with universal credit, and lots of other people say, neither have I, I'm earning more money. But generally those people don't contribute to problem pages. What's wrong with universal credit is that far too many people aren't okay on universal credit. It's not collateral damage, these are people. So I'm just going to go very quickly through the problems that people have been having. The first problem is the delay, the basic delay, which is a minimum of 3 weeks. You can get a loan from the DWP to cover that time, but they claw it back at up to 40% of your universal credit claim. So people get into destitution, people can't afford to pay their rent, people can't afford to pay their bills, and once you get into that spiral, it's very difficult to come out of it. There's a problem with people who are paid every 4 weeks, because universal credit is monthly. It's calendar month. So if you're paid every 4 weeks, there will be months when you get 2 payments. Well, as far as universal credit is concerned, that means that you're earning too much to get any universal credit. So you get no universal credit for that month. The following month, you may have no payments because of your 4 week. And that means that your universal credit will go right up, and it hits the benefit cap. So you don't get as much as you need to get to compensate from the previous week because you've hit the benefit cap, and there's no mechanism in universal credit to deal with this. Big all the money is paid into one person in the household, usually the principal wage earner. And that, I'm sure people have been hearing, but that is, for people who are suffering from domestic violence, that's a disaster. Absolute disaster. And that there's something on the tables about victims of domestic violence. Another big problem, you can only apply for universal credit online. Right, well, you can only apply for universal credit online.
You can apply or you can't?
You can only apply for it online.
Oh, Christ.
So you've got to be able to use a computer. 21% of the UK population don't have the 5 basic digital skills. 16% of the UK population cannot fill an online application form. But that's the only way that you can apply for universal credit. So the government has brought in the CAB as expecting people to go to the libraries and get help from untrained librarians, or the CAB has taken a contract to help people with the forms, which means that we now lose the CAB as an independent arbiter of anything that might go wrong. Shall I carry on?